everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Studio. I'm your host, Lynn Weaver, and the program is brought to you by Davis Media Access and will broadcast on Davis Community Television. We're also online at dctv.davismedia.org and on YouTube. Today's topic is donating blood. And to talk about this is our guest, Vicky Walker, Vicky Wolf, sorry,
That's okay.
communication manager at Vitalant. Welcome, Vicky. Thank you. And sorry for misspeaking your name.
That's okay. Thank you
Vicky,
for having me.
good. I'm glad. Um, we've been hearing a lot about why people are not donating enough blood and why there is a scarcity of blood. Can you tell me why, in our region at least?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's a conundrum. When the pandemic first came upon us, it was a little bit more understandable because people were confused and uh, local entities were saying, everybody, please stay home, don't go out. We were very close to a blood crisis in early 2020. Um, and finally, the Surgeon General came out and said, you still need to donate blood. It is an essential thing to do for our community. Please come out. And so at the very beginning, hospitals were not doing as many procedures as they had been prior to the pandemic. So the need for blood was slightly lessened, which was good because we were having trouble collecting that. Now that the pandemic has waned, though, the patient usage is up to where it was pre pandemic, but people donating blood is not. And so we're still looking at about 50% less of mobile blood drives where people often donated blood, and we're seeing 20% fewer donors. So it's very important that people take this message to heart and figure out what's the best place for them to donate and then to
Yes,
make it a priority.
yes. Who needs blood?
Oh my gosh, it's such a long list of people who need blood. So, most of the time, people think about car accidents and traumatic injuries, and that's certainly a lot of the blood usage that happens. But there's also people in cancer treatment need blood, uh, moms who have childbirth complications, people with blood disorders like sickle cell disease, people who have immune deficiency disease or neurological disease. It's a very, very long list, and it's very
So,
important we have the blood.
yes, well, it's good to know it is a universal need. Now, who would you say is eligible to give blood and who is not?
Well, most people are eligible to give blood. About over 60% of people can give blood, but only 3% do. And herein lies the problem. We need more people to donate blood, and we need more people to donate regularly. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, the usage, every 2 seconds, somebody in the United States gets a blood transfusion. There is no artificial substitute for blood. It can only come from another human being. And because it's one of the most common medical procedures in hospitals, 1 out of 7 people who are hospitalized receive blood transfusions. So it's a very incredible need, no artificial substitute, and it expires. It is perishable.
Well, this is very interesting because I really didn't know there was no artificial substitute for blood. And and also I do know that it is perishable. Although plasma, can you tell me about plasma? Plasma is not perishable, is it?
Plasma is perishable too. So let me
Oh,
take you through the components. So, red blood cells that are used when there's massive blood loss, red blood cells have a shelf life of 42 days. People can donate whole blood, with the primary component of which is red blood cells that carry oxygen to all of the tissues in our body. Those
Mhm.
cells are good for 42 days. Platelets, which are used primarily by cancer patients, but also by lots of other patients as well. About 50% of the platelets collected are used by patients in cancer treatment. But the really incredible thing about platelets that help with clotting
Mhm.
is that they must be used within 7 days. So that's a very, very short shelf life. And then plasma,
Indeed.
which
Yes.
has host of incredible factors that help us stay healthy. Plasma can be frozen for up to 1 year, but after that, we need to make sure that we have enough plasma to treat patients with a wide variety of conditions.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. Well, the begging question, of course, is to go back why there is a scarcity of blood donors. Is it what are the myths about donating blood that may discourage people from donating blood? Can you give us a couple of
Well, I
ideas?
think, sure. I think one of the main reasons is that people don't realize how important it is. And they just think maybe somebody else will donate for me. But when you remember that statistic, over 60% can give and only
Mhm.
3% are actually giving. That's huge. So, most people can give blood. So, some people, they remember, oh, I got deferred from giving blood in high school. Well, that was a long time ago. Things have changed, eligibility has changed. One of the big eligibility changes recently has been for people who are in the military or who had lived in Western Europe for a certain amount of time. They weren't allowed to donate here because of the theoretical risk of mad cow disease. That deferral has changed. So it's important to check in every so often if you've been deferred from donating blood to see if that deferral has changed.
It's very interesting. Actually, it affects me personally because I lived in Europe when there was the outbreak of the mad cow disease, and I knew I couldn't give blood. So it's very good, and I thank you for that information because I didn't know that restriction had been lifted. So that's great. So let's talk about what blood types are most needed. Uh, can everybody has a different blood type,
Yes.
and some are rarer than others. So, can you elaborate a little bit about
Sure.
that?
Yeah, most people think that there's just the four blood types A, B, AB, and O, right?
That's
But in
right.
actuality, there can be hundreds of blood types, some of
Yes.
the factors in there. But going with the main types, type O, negative and positive, are really the donations that are most needed in terms of O negative is a universal donor. So if somebody comes into the hospital, if you don't know their blood type and they need blood right away, they're going to get blood that came from an O negative donor.
What about the O positive donors?
Well, O positive is the most common blood type, and that's reflected in the patient population as well. So, very important type O negative and O positive. And platelets, Lynn, platelets, because of the very short shelf life, they are always needed.
Great. Vicky, if you could very briefly describe the process of what happens when a donor come into a donor site and is being ready to give blood. Can you do that in about 1 or 2
Sure,
minutes.
sure. Yeah, so you need to be healthy, right? You need to weigh a minimum of 120 and or 110, I'm sorry. And so what you come in, you register, you do a donor health questionnaire, which is basically a health evaluation. You get a mini physical where somebody goes over your health evaluation with you. You then donate, which usually is about 5 to 10 minutes. And then you have post donation refreshments where you make sure you have something sweet and salty to replenish after you've given blood.
Great. Now, if I wanted to give blood tomorrow, what would be the easiest way for me to contact uh, the right people and make an appointment?
Well, there's actually three ways to do this. One, you can go to vitalent.org and just set up an appointment at the most convenient location. You can call 877 25 Vital. And at that time, you can just say where you would like to donate and they can tell you what's available. Or you can use the Vitalant app and you can make an appointment that way.
Great. Oh, that's lovely. Quickly, uh, do you screen for COVID before giving blood? In other words, do
We
you make
do.
sure that people are not that are COVID positive, negative? Sorry.
Right. Well, you have to be healthy in order to donate blood. And so if you have COVID, you're likely not healthy or not feeling healthy. So, and then if you come down with it afterwards, you notify us right away to let us know that you have come down with COVID. But right now, there is no testing in terms of blood testing related to COVID.
That's all very interesting information, Vicky. I've learned a lot, and I hope that your enthusiasm and your goodwill will encourage a lot of people to give blood. It is essential for people who are suffering and who really need it. So I'd like to thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for your time and your expertise. And that's it. We'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone out there, for joining in and tuning in and listening to us talk.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. And I'd like to just say one more thing that within you lies a very special substance that can allow futures to unfold and memories to be made. And so, if you don't know if you can donate or if you want to learn about it, please call us and please make a commitment to donating blood in 2023.